Hello, we're the Nostalgia Critic critics. We watch all the Doug videos so you don't have to. Today, we finished Season 3 of the Nostalgia Critic. So Aidan, what is the best review the Nostalgia Critic did in Season 3 of the Nostalgia Critic?
Number 1 is Animaniacs Tribute and Cast Interviews, Parts 1, 2, and 3. This video is insufferably long, at an hour. But for the most part, it's an interview with the cast that worked on Animaniacs. I think there's a couple writers, the animation director.
A couple of voice actors, too.
And despite Doug being Doug and doing some cringe shit,
Yeah, there was some
he actually
cringe
conducts the interview fairly well for the most part. And the people who made Animaniacs are fairly interesting and funny people, so Doug kind of just has to hold it together moderately enough to deliver something watchable. And for Doug, watchable is a high bar. It's a very high bar. It is what it is. It's fairly informative and interesting. It'd be better if they were interviewed by someone who's not Doug, but we'll take what we can get from him.
Alright, next we have Hook. In this review, Doug pretty much roasts Hook a little bit, but he still likes the movie. There's nothing like insufferable joke-wise, for the most part, that I can think of that stands out, but
No, not really.
it's mostly just Doug talking about how he likes Hook, but he still makes fun of it. So,
Yeah.
that's about it.
We've already hit the middle of the road here.
Yeah, I mean, nothing this season was actually particularly good.
Next up was Commando. It's another one of those, I mean, even last season I would have called it a middle of the road forgettable one, but it just is what it is, man. He talks about Commando. That's all there is to it.
Next is Tommy Wiseau's The Room. I mean, come on. This is some low-hanging fruit. It's easy to roast The Room.
Yeah, it's another one where he's coasting off the material.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best review I've seen of The Room, but it's serviceable. I'm pretty sure the first time I heard of The Room was actually watching this video when it was fairly new. So, you know, I guess that's good. At least he raised awareness about this somewhat interesting movie. Even though I argue that it's not even funny bad, it's literally just garbage.
I would agree.
There's like 5 funny moments in The Room and the rest of it's just hot fucking trash. Samurai Cop is funny bad though. But yeah, he coasts off the material. He does very basic things. And Tommy Wiseau becomes fairly recurring in his videos. He doesn't usually make verbal jokes, but it'll be like little like visual jokes he does. Like, I don't remember what it was, but there was one part where it's like directed by Tommy Wiseau or something.
Next up is Conan the Destroyer, which is the second Conan the Barbarian movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's fine.
He talks about Conan the
It's
Destroyer. He doesn't really like, I don't know. He kind of roasts him, but for the most part he just stays out of cringe territory.
Pretty much, yeah.
The next is Conan the Barbarian. It's the same thing as the Conan the Destroyer.
Yeah, the Destroyer one is just like very moderately funnier, if you can call Doug that. More entertaining.
Right.
And Conan the Barbarian is just... Next up is the Pound Puppies, and my notes here say, no thoughts.
Wow. Very entertaining video we've created here.
It's okay, we'll get to the good stuff soon enough.
Alright,
By the good stuff, I mean the bad stuff.
Next is Mr. Nanny. Our notes on this one is also no thoughts. I don't recall Mr. Nanny. Was that Hulk Hogan as the nanny or something?
No, it wasn't Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
that
it
was
was.
Commando. Oh fuck, Mr. Nanny was also Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan
Oh, no,
was
no,
the
no.
nanny. Yes.
Commando wasn't Hulk Hogan.
Commando
Hulk Hogan was in
Schwarzenegger.
fucking Urban Commando or something from last year. Oh,
I don't know.
God,
All
it's
I know
blending
is I
together.
remember Mr. Nanny.
Okay. Next up on the list is Independence Day, which is where we start to get into the moderate cringe. His Independence Day features a small South Park parody, voiced exclusively by Doug.
Oh my god, they killed Jimmy! You bastards!
And, you know, if that was it, it would be embarrassing. How did this get up so high? But there's a fucking dog in Independence Day, and he spends the entire video just like ranting about how he wants the dog to be okay and like fake crying over it.
Yeah, but did Boomer make it okay?
Boomer will live.
I don't know how this ended up this high. There is some
You
really
look at
bad
what's
stuff
going
below it.
lower, and it just kind of makes sense. Home Alone 3. It's another one that's easy to make fun of, like the Home Alone movies post Macaulay Culkin, where, you know, the same shit, just like less writing. Doug talks a lot about how this was like his little tribute series to John Hughes, and we'll get back to this later because there's
He had, like,
another
4 in a
couple
row.
lower. But basically, he's like, John Hughes was a great director. I'm so sad that he recently passed away. And then he's like, I hope John Hughes is getting raped in hell for Home Alone 3.
Then Home Alone 2 came around. He wrote it, and it sucked. Then Baby's Day Out came around. He wrote it, and it sucked.
Then 101 Dalmatians, Flubber, Just Visiting, Dennis the Menace, that shitty-ass Miracle on 34th Street remake, all written by him!
Yeah, he did like 4 reviews
He's,
in
like,
a row of
freaking out
John
about
Hughes
it.
movies, and he's like, John Hughes brought us the best movies of all time, like The Breakfast Club and 16 Candles, and then he's like, but then he made Baby's Day Out and Home Alone 3, and I want to rape him and kill his family. It's
Basically.
like, holy shit, Doug. Chill, buddy.
Glad I don't have this one. I have no...
Oh god, this one should have been lower. Okay. Next up is The Pebble and the Penguin, which is a review of a Don Bluth animated movie. He also did like a whole series of Don Bluth movies this season.
Yeah, that's kind of a recurring
This one is
thing.
particularly notable because Doug makes a reference to The Cake is a Lie.
Next you'll be telling me the cake is a lie!
Doug makes a decent amount of
It
video
is.
game references. Like when he did the Other M reference, I don't remember what video that was in, but
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know if Doug plays video games. I don't know if that's true or if he just sees the memes online.
The Cake is a Lie thing is arguably... You see movies from the 20s that feel less dated than people saying The Cake is a Lie, and he just drops it full unironic in this video.
Right.
And it's hard to watch. It's painful. It's like it's a fucking shot of 2009 nostalgia, and you just want to slit your wrists and just pass out and die.
Alright.
It's very bad.
Alright, next is Free Willy. All we wrote for this one is it's fucking boring. It's just another 22-minute Doug video on Free Willy, which is a movie that's boring.
He talks about
And he has
these-
nothing really good to even comment on that makes it funny. He just kind of reviews Free Willy. And it's
He
like,
talks about these boring fucking movies for 9-year-old kids. And
For
he's like,
25
this movie's
minutes.
so boring and unrealistic. It's like, yeah, no shit, it's made for fucking babies.
yeah.
You're mocking Free Willy.
Well, there are good movies made for babies, but the majority of them were made for fucking babies. But, you know, Doug is a man-child who wants the lore of Free Willy just work. Be deep and insightful film.
So next up is Theodore Rex. I think it goes without saying that Red Letter Media did it better than Doug, but this is one of the videos that made me realize Doug goes into far too much detail. Because a lot of people have criticized him for this, including us, but Doug's reviews are basically him recounting the plot with silly voices. And then at the end he says, I think it was an okay movie. And Theodore Rex is 25 straight minutes of him explaining scene by scene everything that happens in a movie where fucking Whoopi Goldberg and a dinosaur are
Well,
cops.
It doesn't matter if it's the best movie of all time. Doug just nitpicks it for 20 minutes and acts like it's the shittiest thing ever. And he's like, it pisses me off so much, I'll never watch this movie again. And then he goes out of his voice and goes back to his normal Doug voice and says, truth be told, I really enjoy this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I really enjoy Free Willy.
He goes into
for what it
far
is.
too much detail. You don't need to show scene by scene everything that happens. You just cut the shit. Talk about the parts that are actually funny instead of like Whoopi Goldberg and Theodore Rex stand around and eat cookies. Why did they put this in the movie? Like, why are you putting it in your fucking review, Doug?
Right. Next is the Care Bear movie. Like,
This
why
movie's
the
made
fuck
for
is
fucking
Doug...
4-year-olds.
Literally 4-year-old children. Doug makes like 4 Twilight references in it.
I've seen a book so in touch with evil since Twilight.
I have officially become a vampire! Not one of those sparkling ones though, they totally suck ass.
which, you know,
Yeah,
pretty
he's like,
standard.
These
for
Care Bears are like twinkly, sparkly vampires from the Twilight franchise. Like, yeah, it's the fucking punching bag. The Airhead dates it as much as the fucking Cake is a Lie reference.
Right, it's another very dated reference. I just, it's boring, but it kind of goes without saying, like, Doug, you can't... Is it unfair to say things like the Care Bear movie should be void of criticism? Like, as long as it's not, like, showing fucking pornography to children, it's just bears dancing around shooting laser beams.
Yeah.
There's nothing supposed to be taken serious about it. No one sitting there was like, this is going to be great, entertaining content. If they're like, okay, this will entertain the children and sell our fucking Care Bear toys. That's what it's made for, so you can't, like, legitimately criticize it, but whatever.
The next verse is the top 11 coolest movie cliches, where Doug talks about how he likes how people don't look at explosions in movies and how he unironically finds slow-mo cool.
The number one coolest cliche is slow motion.
And it's not that bad of a list. It's yet another generic top 10 list. He makes some top 11s because he wants to stand out, I guess. It's just another generic top 10 list where he talks about slow-mo's really badass.
Next we have Drop Dead Fred. I barely remember this one. I know it's about, like, an imaginary friend or something. I don't really remember his review.
Some British fucking
Dude,
movie.
how lack of memorable is it that I watched this fucking Drop Dead Fred review like a week ago and I can literally not picture a second of the review. Our note says, who fucking knows, he kept making jokes about horse farts. So, take with that information what you will.
Next up is Flubber. You know, it's a Disney movie made for babies. At one point he calls Ariel from The Little Mermaid delicious jailbait or something along those lines.
Oh, it's Ariel. Cool. That's why I was thinking of jailbait as well as fish bait.
Continuing with Doug's theme of ironically being a pedophile, allegedly.
I'm not gonna call Doug a pedophile. I think he just
No, I
makes
don't
jokes
think he is
that are
either. I think
inappropriate.
he's just retarded.
Although later on, if someone makes, like, if a movie does anything that he seems as, like, you know, somewhat pedophilic, he will ironically roast the movie and be like, "That's so inappropriate." Yeah. And then, like, 2
And then
minutes
it'll be
later,
like, Little Mermaid's a little 15-year-old girl, and I want to fuck her little fish pussy.
he's like, "I would tie Little Mermaid down and not give her a choice." And then, like, a second later, he's like, "Wow, that was so inappropriate. That's offensive towards women, and that's you know."
And yes, this Little Mermaid comment comes in the middle of a Flubber review. It's just the way Doug be, man. It's just the way he be.
Doug really hates Flubber. Next, we have Jaws 3. It's a review of a B-movie, Jaws. The jokes are about
It's notable
normal
for one
Duggery.
thing.
It does feature the Cinema Snob.
Actually, that guy is from Manimal.
Cinema Snob, what are you doing here? And what's Manimal?
Only the greatest series to come out of the 1980s. Let me fill you in. It all started on September 30th, 1983. Simon McCorkindale starred as Dr. Jonathan Chase, a man with the brightest of futures, darkest of pasts.
So anyway,
Who I
His
did
first
have
cameo
a
of the
feud
season.
with. Cinema Snob.
I think we should save the feud talk for the other bigger Cinema Snob
I know.
appearance.
It's just a taste. So
But yeah, the
Foreshadowing.
Cinema Snob appears for like 30 seconds in this video where he's talking about, like, I don't remember, what the fuck was he talking about? Something about, like, dogs or something.
yeah, I don't know.
And he just keeps appearing. I
Oh,
fucking
right.
despise the
Right,
Cinema Snob.
it was like some other review or something.
I
that he was
hate the
trying to
Cinema
do.
Snob even more than I hate Dog.
The Cinema Snob.
But we'll come back to him. Okay, so next up is The Quest for Camelot, which is some, like, DreamWorks or whatever animated movie. He actually does have kind of a funny opening bit in this one where all the knights of the round table say their names and he cuts in, like, other stuff.
Liberty, justice, trust,
Wind! Water!
peace, honor, dragon sword, mastodon.
Pterodactyl!
Like the Red Ranger and stuff, which is decently good as far as Doug's concerned. But he also spends the last, like, 10 minutes of the video shooting Mickey and Mary Poppins MS Paint drawings in the face.
fuck you, bitch! Oh my god!
Oh my god, I just killed Mary Poppins!
Mary Poppins!
Birds! Oh no, I killed Bird too! Okay.
Hi, Mr. Nostalgia Critic. Oh!
Mickey! Oh no!
So yeah, he kind of ends it on another sour Doug note. Started promising and Doug.
Yeah. Next we have Never Ending Story Part 2, which our notes say we can't even remember seeing it.
That's true.
We looked back at our list and we couldn't remember seeing it, but it was ranked. Probably could have been higher up on the list, to be honest. It's just hard to move up a movie we can't remember.
Next up is the Flintstones movie. It should be low-hanging fruit, but Doug somehow fails to capitalize on a live-action Flintstones movie starring Halle Berry, John Goodman, and it's a mediocre review of a mediocre movie, and there's nothing funny, there's nothing cringe. It sucks.
Next is Rover Dangerfield. This entire video, he just talks about how much he loves Rodney Dangerfield's comedy and his comedy style. But then every critique he has about the movie is that he does a lot of jokes that are in his comedy style, just in dog form, and they're made for kids or something. So while he thinks Rodney Dangerfield is funny because of his style of jokes and suggests his stand-up comedy, when it's done in animated dog form, apparently it's the worst thing he's ever seen. And he hates the movie.
It's a weird dichotomy that Doug has with that movie.
It's pretty bizarre.
Next up is Old vs. New, The Nutty Professor. Guess how many shits I give about The Nutty Professor? It's 0.
Yeah, I mean, this is just another old versus new. He pretty much
It's the same fucking thing that the series always is. He lines up two things. He makes it so that they come out even.
And then he decides.
And then at the end, he just decides arbitrarily at the end which one he likes better by how little backlash he'll get for picking that one.
Pretty much.
That's all it is. That's the whole fucking Old versus New series. And he just keeps making them.
Yeah, and half the time his reason for picking a point is completely nonsensical. It'll be like, well, Eddie Murphy's a much better actor, and I enjoyed his character more. And I thought he was funnier. And he was just better in the role entirely. I'm going to have to give this one to the old one, because
It's a classic,
It's
and
a
it's classic.
classic.
The new one.
Yup, exactly. It's shit like that. And it's like, okay, well, by that criteria, there's no way the new one wins. So why even...
Yeah.
What the fuck, Doug? Yeah. The next is A Troll in Central Park.
It's another Don Bluth movie. It's a running theme in his entire series and this season especially.
And Doug keeps calling the troll and having embarrassing skits about it. I don't remember this video at all, dude.
You don't? It's...
No.
He always does that thing where he like calls a character from the movie on his cell phone and
Right.
talks to him.
Yeah.
And this one he keeps calling the troll.
Hello, this is Stanley the Troll. Happy.
Stanley, how dare you destroy a great animator's career with your mere existence?
Oh, but I didn't, Mr. Critic. I'm sharing all the goodness that came from flowers, sunshine, and animals that smile with their mouths open.
And the troll's like, I'm happy and I'm your friend and I'm your friend. And he's like mocking it because the troll's like a good guy, I guess. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, goddamn troll. And the troll's like, that's not very nice.
He's
and then
like,
Doug's
"Hey,
like,
troll."
I'm gonna shoot you, and starts flailing his gun around
He's
like he
hey,
does in
troll,
every
I'm
fucking
gonna
episode.
tape you down and you're not gonna have a choice on what happens next.
Doug and the troll side by side.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Or not Doug, Ariel and the troll. Next on our list is My Pet Monster, which is some low-budget fucking
Toy
40-minute toy commercial that Doug dug up from a fucking Blockbuster's garbage bin. It's like, who fucking cares, Doug? Nobody below the age of like 70 remembers what the fuck My Pet Monster is, and nobody cares about this shitty 40-minute commercial that you sat there for some fucking reason.
Right.
Who fucking cares?
Alright, next is The Thief and the Cobbler. This review has some points that are okay. Like the start, when he talks about like the history behind it's kind of interesting because it's troubled history.
Yeah, and then he ruins it.
He bitches a lot about fucking goddamn Ferris Bueller being in the movie.
Which, yeah, I mean...
Which is true.
That's fair. Wasn't meant to be that way, but...
then at the end of the review... The fuck, I saw this video an hour and a half ago.
He keeps having phone calls with Vincent
Right.
Price.
Vincent Price keeps calling him. That's what it was. That was the fucking cringe.
Well,
Critic, I knew you would blow me off after that last phone call, so I set a time bomb in your house before it was built. Clever me. But don't worry, it's set to go off in exactly 50 seconds. You'd better run, big boy.
I remember, so you don't have to.
1, 2, skip a few 50. Oh, I love it when I'm nasty.
See,
And
after
the joke
20
is
minutes,
that-
I can't even remember this shit. It's just eye glazing, dude.
The joke is that Vincent Price sold his soul to the devil so that he could see the future, so that he could plant a time bomb in Doug's house to go off right at the end of the episode and also drop a pumpkin on his head. It's embarrassing. It's the fucking phone call skit again that he does like 5 times this season.
The sad thing
It's
is,
annoying.
if Doug could have, kept his boner in and did less skits, god damn it, dude. I'm just thinking about how many skits we're gonna have to sit through later.
The rest...
That fucking Deadpool
Later on,
2
it becomes
video,
nothing but skits. The
And
modern era of fucking whatever The Wall is a fucking 50-minute album recreation skit with terrible jokes and some furry animator's fucking jerk-off material running around fucking Doug in the ass or whatever the fuck. This is the good stuff.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, yeah, no, The Thief and the Cobbler had a lot of pieces to make it a good review. He just cringed it out with that fucking annoying Vincent Price skit.
Oh. Next up is Waterworld. Waterworld has one recurring thing that I did not understand. The entire review, he complains about the main character doing what he calls stuff.
this looks like a job for, you guessed it. Stuff, 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 stuff.
Every time something happens, he goes, all that's happening on the screen is stuff, 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 stuff. And the character will be like shooting people, and he's like, this is all just stuff.
Or like moving his boat using like the mechanics they made, like
doing
these
fucking
complex props
anything.
they
He just
created.
writes off as doing stuff, and then at the end of the review, he says,
At least
I
they do
complained
stuff."
about all the stuff that they did.
No, he doesn't even
But I
call
thought
out
the
the fact that he complained about
I
it.
thought the stuff was actually kind of cool.
And to be honest, I kind of like stuff. Watching the technicals of this world is really enjoyable.
It's like, what the
He
fuck
said
is wrong with
He
you?
doesn't call it the
You
fact
dumb
that his
bitch.
main criticism about this movie was the stuff. He just says, well, to be honest, it was really cool, all the stuff they did. And it's like, you complained about that for 10 minutes of this 20-minute video. And then he does some fucking pedophile shit, too, in this one.
He does talk a little bit about pedophiles, but this one he's anti-pedophile.
Yeah, he's anti-pedophile.
But then he also replaced the clip of the little girl getting smacked in the face over and over again while
Yeah, that's
talking
a
about
little-
how horny it makes him, so...
He didn't
Not a good
say
look,
it made
though.
him horny. He said
He
he
said,
liked watching
I
children
love
get beaten."
watching little kids get smacked in the face, especially if they're tight little girls. Started, like... You could see, like, his hand rubbing down below the table.
Next is chairman of the board. Doug legitimately thinks Carrot Top is funny. He hates
Yeah,
this
that's-
movie,
that's-
of course. This movie did look god fucking awful, but it's another like random forgettable fucking movie that he found. I think he just clicks random on IMDb. And that's how he picks his movies.
I hate Carrot Top so much. Seeing Carrot Top, even in the context of this review, made me want to fucking... It gave me bloodlust, bro.
Right, dude.
I was about to tear that fucking guy's face off, and Doug somehow finds Carrot Top actually funny. He's literally the only person I've ever heard of in
He's
the
like, it's
entire
actually
universe.
a shame, because I feel like they could have really done a movie with Carrot Top and made it work.
They should have had my two favorite comedians, Carrot Top and Dane Cook, meet up. Next up is End of Days, which is one of the first reviews of the season. I truthfully do not remember this. Our notes say only lots of screaming, which unfortunately
Is that the one where they go to hell or something like
Yes,
that?
that's the one where they go to hell. And it was in Schwarzenegger month, so it stars Schwarzenegger.
Oh, he's in a helicopter in one shot. I
Our
remember
notes just say lots of screaming, which unfortunately describes
Pretty much every
95% of Doug videos.
that. Right. Alright, next is another early one. I actually thought this was from season 1, but now apparently it's on my list and I had to talk about it. Lost in Space.
Oh, yep.
We have it written as the worst skit yet. Doug argues with himself in blue makeup and fucking dies.
I mean, you're a friggin' spider! A spider!
Well, that seems hardly fair.
Even before that, your acting was so over the top, all that was missing was a top hat and a mustache to twirl.
It's true that what you see is pretty much what you get, but I can be a very persuasive person.
How?
For example, there are many dangerous monsters in this world, and I'm one of them.
You are?
Yes. Now give me your gun.
Oh, certainly. Here you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
I don't really recall the context of that,
fucking-
so if you want to enlighten me.
At the end of this movie, they fight some giant fucking spider. This blue fucking spider.
Right.
And Doug decides to roll with this. And so there's a skit at the end of this video that goes on for approximately 5 minutes, where the blue spider, and in this case it's Doug in blue makeup,
Okay.
looks through a portal because of course he couldn't show the spider body, that's too expensive. And Doug and Blue Doug scream at each other for 5 minutes, and then they shoot each other with bullets and then walk away. And that was actually one of the first episodes of the season, so when we wrote the worst script, or the worst skit yet, that was, that was comparing it mostly to season 1 and 2. That is definitely not a statement I stand by compared to pretty much the stuff we're coming up on. So, next up is top 11 scariest performances. It's another generic top 10 list, top 11 list, whatever the fuck he wants to call it. Doug didn't understand the Clockwork Orange. He did not realize that Alex was the good guy. I think that says a lot about Doug.
Well, his other performances are his other choices were pretty cringy too. Like, Heath Ledger's the Joker.
Yep,
the way Heath Ledger licks his lips and breathes heavily for 2 hours really scares me a lot. Alright, next is Old versus New King Kong. This video was fucking retarded. I hated this video. This video sucked. It's probably the worst Old versus New, unless there's another one we're hiding. But basically, the whole time, Doug is like, talks about how much he loves the old film and how the new one sucks ass, basically. And then basically the final decider, for some reason, is up to the fucking special effects.
Yep.
And he's like, wow, the old King Kong had revolutionary special effects. It's probably the most advanced special
cinema. It was the most.
It pushed cinema forward into a new age completely. But the by-the-numbers CGI of Peter Jackson's King Kong looks really good. And while it doesn't do anything revolutionary, it's clean and obviously looks better than the old King Kong. Yeah, because the movie's like 70 fucking years newer, you retard. Are you fucking challenged, dude?
He is Doug.
Yeah, I know, but it made me so angry. I'm like, why? How is that a fair comparison to make? If we're talking,
it's not.
He literally talks about how revolutionary fucking the original King Kong was, and how for today's standards, King Kong isn't anything extraordinarily special, even though the CGI is above average for 2005. But then he basically says, but, honestly, this one looks better. Like, yeah, no fucking shit, Doug. They didn't even have computers to make CGI in 1930, you fucking retard. Like, how is that fair? Was someone supposed to make a clay model that looked better than a fucking $200 million CGI set piece of a movie that 2005 King Kong was? Fucking movie. Oh, wait, I guess there is another one.
Next up is Old versus New 10 Commandments, which arguably King Kong is probably worse. 10 Commandments he compares to the DreamWorks movie Prince of Egypt, I think it's called.
King of Egypt or Prince of Egypt. I don't remember. I saw the movie like 2 months ago, but
Prince of Egypt's not that bad.
No, it's a pretty decent movie.
It's another one of the old versus news, so it's kind of bad by default. This one is particularly odd to me because he talks about how much of a classic the 10 Commandments is, and it is, and how good it is in every way, and then he's like, but I'm a man-child, so I picked the Prince of Egypt, and I was like, okay, thanks for wasting my time. The movies are barely similar. They're barely fucking similar. They are about the same historical event. They're barely similar otherwise, and he compares them for no reason, then just arbitrarily picks one.
I liked the cast where he talks about the huge celebrity casts in both the films, and he's like, but I have to give it to the Ten Commandments because the huge celebrity cast is unmatched by the other one. And also where he's like, I like the Ten Commandments because it has way more characters, and for me, I prefer more characters over good story development. I'm like, Doug, are you fucking challenged? So if Barney and Friends, you know, you'd rather have one fucking movie where all the Barney people have time to dance instead of just Barney really getting his moves out? Is that what Doug's comparison is?
I just think it's such a bizarre comparison because they're such different movies. Right. They are so completely different.
I like
at least
even at the
King
start
Kongs.
is like I could have compared the 1920s to the 1950s one.
Like,
and it's like, yes, do that, dude. That actually might be interesting.
This video literally feels like an excuse. He barely touches on the Ten Commandments. This video feels like an excuse for him to talk about Prince of Egypt without having to shit on it because of his shitty character.
Well, the King Kong one does
but he
the
should have
same
just
thing.
fucking did that.
He doesn't really give each movie a fair time. He chooses which movie he wants to talk about, and then just
it's basically like he's like,
that's what he
let's
does in
talk
King
about
Kong.
the character Moses, and he's in Ten Commandments. He's like, the character Moses is really cool, and then he's like, Prince of Egypt. Now I'm going to talk about Prince of Egypt for 15 minutes. It's like, just make a fucking video about the Prince of Egypt. Doesn't have to do this stupid comparison.
I bet you within the next 10 seasons or whatever we have left to watch, he's made a review of Prince of Egypt. Let's be honest. Unless he called this good, but I'm sure he'll double dip. I'm sure of it.
Surprised.
Alright. Next is Ernest Scared Straight. Doug talks about a horny little 8-year-old girl.
Where did that come from? She never expressed any interest in him before, it just sort of came out of nowhere. In fact, I don't even think that was in the script. I think she's just a horny girl.
And how...
Hobo Doug and Nerd Doug.
Oh, and Hobo Doug and Nerd Doug appear. Yeah, there's a part in this where this 8-year-old girl gets kissed by a boy.
No, she kisses the boy on the
kisses
cheek.
the boy on the cheek, and Doug's like, she's so fucking horny for it. She's fucking horny for it. It's like, okay, Doug.
I'm gonna get the rope and not give her a choice.
Yeah, no, it was fucking... It was up there with DJ Tanner as one of the most, like, okay, Doug, maybe that's a joke you don't make. Doug re-uploaded these recently, and he's been known to edit his videos, so why he hasn't cut out some of these blatant pedophilia.
Also, we've talked about both characters in the past, but Hobo Doug and Douchey, the internet troll, are terrible, terrible characters. And I'm so glad that Hobo Doug is almost entirely phased out this season, but Douchey gets more and more screen time.
Yeah, Douchey has become a...
Also, this episode cannot compare to the last Ernest one from Season 2, because Doug does not drop the N-bomb in this one.
Yeah. I wish Doug dropped the N-word in this one, too.
We're getting towards the bottom now. This one was on the bottom for a real long time, and it kind of eventually got beat out, but...
Yeah, it actually made a little comeback.
Next we have Junior, which is one of the movies in his Schwarzenegger month. It's a movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger gets pregnant. Doug completely misses the point of the movie, and he takes it far too literally. He's like, it's completely ridiculous that a man could get pregnant! And that's like his critique for like 25 straight minutes, and he just doesn't
That's
get
what
it.
he does. A lot of the time, he'll find a movie where he thinks one part of the movie is terrible, and it's 20 minutes of him making fun of the one thing in the concept of a movie. Like, that's what this is a prime example of. He doesn't think it's realistic, and he thinks it's stupid. So he makes fun of the fact that men can't get pregnant, and that's the premise of this movie.
That is the premise of the video.
For 25 minutes, repeatedly. And he'll say, like, it'll be like, so then Arnold goes to the hospital to visit Gina. And then he'll be like, but men can't get pregnant! And it's like, okay, Doug, we get it, dude. Quit having a fucking spurg attack here, bro. Junior is a pretty bad video. Alright, next we have Nostalgic Commercials 1.
Of 11.
11. Doug pretty much just talks about, like, toys and cereal and anything else meant for children and watches the commercial, and he's like, wow, that's really, really great.
There's
product.
two important things
Or
that
he
happen in
shits
this
on it.
video. One, apparently the director of My Pet Monster movie got in beef with the Nostalgia Critic and like personally called him on the phone to like talk about how he ruined his life and was a shitty person or something.
Doug roasts him and tries to push him to suicide.
That's bad timing.
I am a loser. You were right, director of My Pet Monster. I'm a loser. A weak, pathetic loser.
He talks about fucking commercials. He sings a song for 20 minutes.
Yes, he sings a very bad song.
Doug loves fucking singing songs, dude.
He loves show tunes,
He loves
dude.
fucking show tunes.
He has a show tune. He's basically like, I'm not a real man because I spend all day being a man-child. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then he starts singing some fucking show tune, and then he goes on a rant about how the My Pet Monster director's a bully or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking weird. It's weird and embarrassing, and there's 11 of these commercial movies.
Well, what the heck? I went and did my best, and by God, I really tasted something swell.
So, we have a special one on this list. Next up is Leprechaun from 1983. The video itself co-stars Cinema Snob. Cinema Snob, for those unaware, is like Doug, but more obnoxious, with a worse voice.
He's like
with fedora permanently attached to his head. He's fucking
like where Doug wears that single mom, that gay-looking single mom hat. Cinema Snob wears a fedora, and it's natural for him.
To put it one way, I think this is like the most perfect example I can think of, or fucking metaphor. Doug is like Facebook cringe. Cinema Snob is like Reddit cringe.
I'm the Cinema Snob.
I'm the Cinema Snob.
No, I'm the Cinema Snob.
No, I'm the Cinema Snob. Well, okay. What do you say we review this anus turkey together?
I would like that.
Like, Cinema Snob thinks he's the smartest person in the world. He's a pretentious douchebag. But when it boils down to it, he's the biggest fucking retard in the room, and even Doug is very moderately smarter than him.
Hoo-hoo! Well, if you need to know the answer, it's magically done.
Thank you.
No problem.
Basically. I wouldn't even make that comparison. I would make it more of a comparison where if Doug is Twitter, which is very retarded, then Cinema Snob is Facebook, which is exceptionally retarded.
Yeah, but I'd call him Reddit because he thinks he's really smart even though he's retarded.
True.
Like, people on Facebook
people
don't
on
have
Facebook
the
think
Doug,
they're fucking geniuses.
Everyone on
bro.
Facebook is dumb but doesn't have the self-awareness to realize they're dumb.
Right.
People on
they
Reddit
forget that they're dumb.
People on Reddit and the Cinema Snob know that they're dumb, and they're so self-aware that they have to pretend to be smart in order to not feel dumb. Which makes them come off like the Cinema Snob.
Or I think they self-consciously believe they are smart even though they know they're dumb.
Because they
so
watch
they
Rick and
mask
Morty.
it. I don't think it's necessarily just a Rick and Morty thing.
To be
It's
fair,
also like a Big Bang Theory was a big thing before that made people feel smart.
To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Rick and Morty.
Right. And unfortunately, I am to Cinema Snob what My Pet Monster director is to Doug. Because Cinema Snob
Run us through this
very
little beef.
salty.
Give us an outline. What did you do?
When I was living in Vegas, I was watching fucking recommended YouTube videos, and I didn't recognize the channel because it wasn't under Cinema Snob.
Yeah,
I was aware of fucking Cinema Snob, but I didn't know Cinema Snob.
Yeah,
right?
he has his YouTube channel under like Bob Chipman or something now, doesn't he?
Right. So, unfortunately, I watched this video. And it's Cinema Snob roasting some documentary by this fucking Indian dude who, is a super Republican Indian dude.
Yeah.
And the movie looks fucking awful. And I heard this dude's a fucking quack retard.
Yeah, I've heard Hillary's America's a terrible movie.
I've heard it's a horrible movie. That's what it was. Hillary's America. But I simply said, this video was bad. And my comment was, this video is bad. That's all I said. I didn't say anything about Donald Trump. And fucking Cinema Snob wrote me a fucking novel. He said, you heard him, C-Dub. That's, I guess, his nickname for me. My name is Connor, if you didn't know. All those parts where I talked about and showed examples of bad directing, bad acting, bad editing, and bad writing never happened. All in your head. The video was just me calling Dinesh a racist. Remember, all I said was, this video is bad. He's putting a lot of words in my mouth. Granted, in my memory, I didn't even do that once, but as Connor has shown, what's in the actual video means nothing when you have fiction. Again, all I said is this video is bad. Sort of like this movie. No need for an actual argument on the subject, just make shit up or present things without context. My context is I said this video was bad. That's what I said. I remember actually actively, I watched this on the PS4, and I grabbed my phone and searched up the video and wrote, this video's bad. And he got so ass-haired about it, dude.
He literally comes off like a fucking schizophrenic, like going on this huge rant about how you killed his family because you said this video was bad.
Right, and then I responded
with pseudo-intellectual bullshit where he's like trying to shove words into your mouth to make himself feel smarter because some random guy posted
a man in his
4-word review of his video.
This video was bad, dude. 4 words that changed the Cinema Snob. It really got him ass mad. And then I responded with, I saw your message. I was just having a hard time watching this video because 90% of it was unobjective garbage. I'm not going to recomb your video for evidence because it was painful for me to watch the first time. When I made my original comment, I was merely stating my opinion that this video was bad. I did not click on this video to hate on it. I came to watch. I am unbiased. I think Dinesh is a dumbass. However, you came into this movie to hate on it, and you did. Good job, buddy. And he didn't respond, unfortunately, but I did make him very ass mad off my 4-word review. He called me C-Dub and also Cotter. He got really ass mad. He's like, I'm gonna make a nickname just to humiliate this man.
When we're fucking, for the upload of this video, this one, we should call it Nostalgia Critic. We'll call it the normal title, but then in parentheses we'll put, and our beef with Cinema Snob.
Yeah, let's do it, dude. We did have a beef with Cinema.
Clickbait it out.
Dude, I remember that night clearly, dude. Mom was out of town. I just sat in the living room, drinking an entire case of White Claws. I was just cruising YouTube. I don't know how long it was later, but I kind of feel like I kind of put my phone down. And when I picked it back up a couple minutes later, I had a notification where it's like, okay, jackass, fuck you.
To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Bob Chipman's review of Hillary's America by Dinesh, whatever the fuck.
Right. I mean, I really didn't. I didn't understand how upset he was. I just figured he never would, but apparently he must have been combing through his comments. He's like,
I'm sure he was responding to everyone he saw as a Trump supporter just to dunk on him.
The camel's back. Dude, I feel like I might have been the straw. I didn't look through anything else, but
I'm sure you weren't the only one who got a fucking.
Oh, I'm sure I wasn't the only one that got a personalized message on that, but
I like to cringe at Republican boomers as much as I like to cringe at hippie liberals.
Dude, Republican boomers are usually more hilarious than the liberals.
Those people who say Trump derangement syndrome and talk about how everyone's just deranged about Donald Trump all the time and think about nothing about except how much they hate Trump, that's literally Cinema Snob. Cinema Snob is like Stephen Colbert, but instead of being famous and rich, he's pathetic and bald.
Right. I'm not going to lie and sit here and be like, I think Trump's a miracle for America. Because that's not what I said at all, but Cinema Snob assumed it. God, that was fucking embarrassing. I felt embarrassed for him just for the huge misunderstanding. Because what he didn't understand was, it was all a misunderstanding. I thought his video was shit and it was trash. I honestly, at first I thought he was a rip-off of Doug. I didn't really honestly do research until like
later.
Like, well, once that happened, I looked up what the Cinema Snob was, and I was like, oh, he was one of those channel. It didn't really surprise me because I was like, Doug basically just created a million Nostalgia Critic clones to put on his fucking channel. That's what it was.
Made an army of mini.
I mean, it more or less still is. Like, Hello Greedo is a fucking Nostalgia Critic in a Stormtrooper helmet. Fucking Larry Bundy's actually good though.
Yeah, like Larry Bundy. I don't know why he's still with Channel Awesome.
Whatever. Anyway, yeah, Leprechaun, it was another plain review, just with the Cinema Snob acting cringy. Next we have Stephen King's It. In this video,
terrible gimmick.
Doug plays the Stephen King drinking game.
Bloody boogers. Sorry, I think the alcohol served going to my... The camera's pretty.
And decides it'd be funny if his character gets drunk. But for the filming, Doug didn't actually get drunk, so he just pretends to be drunk and acts really retarded and does like a very stupid voice.
Yeah, he spends the whole time, he's like, the camera looked like a sexy woman. Oh, I'm so drunk. And then he talks about the movie Normal for like 5 minutes, and then he has a little skit where he's like, I want to have sex with this bottle of alcohol. I'm really done. He's like, I like the kids a little better if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and he starts winking at the camera, and then he goes back into the video and he's like, truth be told, I actually like this part of the film.
He goes full retard and acts like he's like hallucinating from alcohol.
Right.
He's acting up like he's fucking...
chugged a bottle of absinthe or something.
He's acting up like he fucking dropped salvia 4 seconds before filming. He's like, everything's a fucking dancing outfit, bro. I drink so much alcohol. It's like, okay, calm down, relax.
He also
Thankfully,
really freaked out.
I actually
about
just
balloons.
noticed this though, but this is really the only gimmick episode he had this season. Season 2 had like 5 terrible gimmick episodes, like the fucking The Good Son and the monkey one.
Right.
This is the only major gimmick episode.
Right.
Which I'm very thankful for. It is also the 3rd worst video and very horrendous though. So next we're on to You're a Rotten Dirty Bastard, a Christmas special. This is not a review. It is a Nostalgia Critic episode, so it's on the list, but it's essentially a 20-minute short film where the Nostalgia Critic character reenacts the fucking Christmas Carol, and his guardian angel shows him how his friends' lives would be different if he wasn't around and all their lives are better, then the angel's life would be better, and then Doug shoots the angel in the face. It's a 20-minute skit. It sucks. It's filmed like shit. Everyone is a terrible actor. We saw Spoonie was there for like 20 seconds. I liked Spoonie. The rest of it was just unwatchable dog shit.
Yep.
And now for perhaps the worst video we have watched for this series thus far. Take it away, Connor.
Next we have the next Nostalgia Critic fuck-ups. It was like the first Nostalgia Critic F-ups, but even worse. You can feel how much less humble Doug gets.
His
video
ego's inflating
to fucking video.
Fucking
the troll guy. What's his fucking name again? The nerd?
Douchey the internet troll.
Douchey the internet troll is pretty prominently featured in this one, as he was in his debut of the first Nostalgia Critic fuck ups.
Yep. The episode ends with Doug going to Douchey's house and murdering him.
Right.
Ma, don't open the door!
Oh, hi, Mr. Critic. Sure, Douchey can play. He's right downstairs. No.
You chicken blowing little stinker! I'll tell you!
No, not the grenade.
Yes, the grenade! Yes, the grenade!
Ask him if he wants to stay for dinner.
Basically, the thing about this episode is it's 11 points, and why are they called the top 11 F-ups when Doug does nothing but contests them? If he's going to contest them, then they're not. If he thinks they're not F-ups, then why are
these
they putting them
F-up
on the
videos?
list?
He'll include like 2 legitimate ones, but the legitimate ones are like, I made a typo. I'm sorry. Then the rest
Quit
are like
being a nerd.
Then the rest are like, in Fantasia, the demon has a name, and he kept calling it Satan, which isn't its name. And he's like, you guys are just fucking nerds for knowing what its name is, and I'm fucking right, and it's basically Satan, so fuck you. It's like, okay, why are you making this video? What's the point?
Yeah.
We took a lot of fucking notes about this. Basically, the entire douchey character is just a straw man for Doug to argue against.
Right.
Where he just makes points that he knows he can refute because they're not real points, and then just bloats up his ego even more. Let's see what else we got. Sucks himself off, writes all his errors off as nitpicks, acts like an argumentative little bitch. He talks about how he wants to fuck the green M&M.
Are you masturbating again? Mom! Just stop doing it to the pictures of the green M&M. It's unnatural. Go away, Mom!
Which I made note of because that was a running joke in Sleepycast.
Her eyeballs are the size of my torso.
No, they're not. They're the size of your balls.
I'm not sure if they were inspired by that. They do shit on Doug a lot. But he did say that he wanted to have sexual intercourse with an M&M, unironically. The Casper character from last season reappears.
Right.
As well as a cartoon elephant who coughs at him.
You're missing the autism joke.
Because his big fuck up this season is number one. Apparently in one of his reviews he made an autism joke.
Yes, I think he entertains the autistic children.
And then for some reason he cut it out because people were offended.
And then he proceeded to play the clip that he cut out.
And then he played the clip that he cut out so that everyone could see this thing that he was apparently so shameful of. But then the real baffling part, the part that brings up so many questions for me, he's willing to go through and edit out things from his old videos that he thinks are controversial, like the autism thing. But he doesn't edit out the part in fucking Ernest Saves Christmas where he drops the N-bomb. He doesn't edit out the part where he says he's gonna fucking rape Ariel from The Little Mermaid because she's sexy jailbait. Doesn't talk about how the little girl in the fucking other Ernest movie's a horny little slut who wants to get deep-dicked.
I think Doug got called out on the autism thing, because Doug says retard plenty of times.
He says retard in that same video.
Yeah.
Someone called him out about the autism thing, and he's like, okay.
I can't
and then
specifically
he just starts
call out a
dropping
mental
retard.
illness, but I can call people retards. I think Doug is the least self-aware human being. Dude, he's got such a fucking ego on him, dude.
He does. And it's like, if you're gonna cut out the autism joke, fine, I guess. But if that's the route you're gonna go, why aren't you gonna cut out you dropping the fucking gamer word, dude?
Dude, Doug has a gamer word pass. Have you seen him? He's fucking...
Well, now he's friends with Malcolm X. You can fucking do whatever he wants.
Right. His lover is a fucking black furry, so I guess he has the street pass now.
Yes, and like I said, this episode
He's got a 60-day subscription to Gamefly, if you know what I'm saying.
The episode ends with Doug going to the house of his straw man and his straw man's Jewish mother and shooting them in the face, so...
Yeah,
I don't know what to make of that.
The big Jewish mother upstairs. I think that was a rip-off of Howard's mom from The Big Bang Theory, probably.
Very possible.
That he was
Very
inspired.
possible.
Did we talk about the South Park skit?
We touched on it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did you have something specific to say about it?
No, I just remember it being fucking cringe.
I don't remember exactly what happens in it. I think doesn't he just have Kenny shoot all the other kids?
He starts doing the South Park voices and shit.
Yes, he does. He does. I mentioned that in whatever video it came up in. That one was ranked towards the top because that's what passes for good in Doug's eyes.
All right, Aidan. I think we've done a fair job of talking. We're at our standard 55 minutes.
Oh, we should do one more
as
thing.
Standard for our Doug videos now, what is the best season of the Nostalgia Critic we've seen so far? I don't remember what we said last time.
Fuck.
I feel like it was 2.
If I go by feeling, I want to call 2 the best because 2 had the highs, like the Moonwalker.
Right.
And the fucking,
it had some legitimately good videos.
The Titanic video.
This season did not.
But 2 also had the lowest lows with fucking...
Right.
Like the fucking Good Son. But this one is like consistently mediocre throughout with some super low lows.
Right.
Like,
it definitely doesn't have the variant. Because like season 2, there are like some pretty damn decent Doug videos.
Moonwalker,
and there are some of the worst videos I've
video.
ever seen on YouTube. Where this season is like... I think, I can bitch about the Nostalgia Critic F-ups, and it was pretty cringy, and Doug definitely has an ego on him. But in terms of classically bad, this video just makes Doug kind of look like a huge douchebag. But it's not like The Good Son or something where it's unwatchable. You're kind of just sitting there like, okay, Doug, congratulations. Keep sucking yourself off.
I think in the end I'm still going to give it to 2 for now. I'm going to say 1 is completely unmemorable. 3 is generally mediocre. And 2 has enough peaks that it's probably almost better than the rest. So I'm going to say 2, 3, 1.
Shit.
Actually, it's probably 2, 1, 3, because 1 is forgettable, but 3 is like generally bleh.
Alright.
So, last episode, I got one more thing to add. We crowned Season 2 the gun season. We didn't crown Season 1 anything, but that was also kind of the prototype season.
No,
if you had to give a title to Season 3, what would you call it?
The
phone call season?
Oh,
there's a lot of phone calls.
Right, now that you mention it.
I don't know, that's the best one I can come up
with.
The
phone, it definitely was, because
it wasn't as prevalent as the gun.
We did see a lot less, like, we did see it a little bit at the start, but, like, big-lipped alligator moment started to die. A lot of the running jokes from 2 started to die. Yep. Now Doug is relying on skits less than running jokes, but, like, recurring skits, like the phone call. It's an easy setup for Doug, so he does the phone calls a lot. I still love Grant Newkirk's Perkins video, the phone call you did.
That was a good one.
With the Nostalgia Critic. Anyways, yeah, I guess the phone call season is fair. That is like his go-to like skit gimmick. It's not even a recurring joke.
It's not even that recurring, but it's like the most recurring thing I can plant on this season. That and a lot more skits, but I don't think it's fair to call this one the skit season, knowing what we have to look forward to.
Yeah. So here's my question. Do you think... So, I feel like 3 and 2 aren't that far off as far as it goes. If you average it out, if I had to average it out, I'd probably give it around the same score. But 2 is edged out by having some enjoyable content. So we're kind of we're at some median Doug right now. Do you think we're going to go up anymore, or do you think it's all downhill from here?
What year did this come out? It must have been 2009, 2010, maybe. You know, truthfully, we might see a small increase from here on out. Like, season 4 or 5, like 2011, 2012 is when camera quality started to go up and production values
his cameras are okay.
So
and he gets more of a team later on as he loses all his channel awesome.
There might be a brief moment in like season 4, 5, and 6 where it becomes a little more enjoyable just because of higher production qualities, but before he goes full whatever Deadpool 2 and the Wall are.
Right. My theory is...
I don't think it'll be a huge spike or anything.
My theory is it's going to continue to rise slightly. It's probably not going to get considerably better. And then once that demo reel cutoff happens, I feel like that's going to be the point where it starts flipping. And
falls apart.
It's starting to head down.
It won't be a decline. Once the demo reel thing happens, we'll just be like...
See, but I feel like... I remember even when he came back from demo reel, that was like probably the last Nostalgia Critic video I really watched until we redid this marathon. Not that I really kept up from him, but Doug was like, I'm done with Nostalgia Critic forever. Goodbye. Then I was like, well, I'll never watch another Doug Walker video. That's a good. Like, no one liked fucking demo reel. Not even legitimate Doug fans like demo reel, but I was like, okay, Nostalgia Critic's done. And then like a year later, he's like, I'm back, because you can't kill the Nostalgia Critic. And I know he kind of just, he added a little more skits.
He missed the money.
But now he's really ambitious. His ego's off the charts. I mean, look at that damn Wall review. He hired this lead singer of Slipknot to do a cover of the SpongeBob theme song for his internet review of fucking The Wall.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's gone fucking super fucking
his modern
Super
day,
Saiyan Budokai fucking Doug right now.
His modern day reviews are like You remember that Jack Black movie, Be Kind, Rewind?
Right.
It's that, but without the charm,
people.
or without being funny,
Yeah.
or without being, like, entertaining.
Right. I just remember Rick and Morty, and I saw the Deadpool one with Rick and Morty.
Oh, yeah, that one's bad.
I didn't watch The Wall. I heard some hoopla about it. I saw parts of it. I've heard some of the music.
The Wall is far worse than you could imagine, bro.
Right. No, I'm pretty damn sure I'll be imagining it pretty soon here. God damn it, dude.
Well, this has been...
We're kind of at the grading part. I feel like once we get further, it's gonna start getting a lot more fun to do these videos.
But
right
it's
now,
gonna be way
it's
more
like
fun to talk about.
Average. That's why, like, I'm not really excited for these next 2 seasons in terms of videos. But once he comes back from demo reel and Doug starts losing his shit even more, I have a feeling as the ego grows and the production values grow, and Doug has more of an ability to do all the cringy things that fly through his mind, I can only imagine these are going to be a lot more entertaining.
I mean, truthfully, the thing is, I could talk about his Deadpool 2 review for hours on its own, because it's so fucking... I don't know, man.
Oh, dude, the Deadpool 2 review, I could do a review.
We're still in the era of some guy sitting at a table talking about movies. He's bad at it. He's embarrassing. And he occasionally does embarrassing things, but the point that his modern show is at is so far separated from this that it's insane.
Right.
It's not the same series anymore. It's just so... I don't know what to call it.
And so concludes our hour-long video reviewing another internet reviewer's cringy movie reviews in our fucking dirty, stinky, musty basement.
Cheers.
Salute, and be kind to all your friends.